Greetings, comic book fans. I'm Danny Danger, and I'm going to talk to you about one of my absolute favorite comic books ever in all of time, Fables. Fables is a story about the fables and fairy tale characters who have been chased out of their mythical homelands into the mundane world, specifically Bullfinch Street, a street in New York City. When they move over to our world, they make a pact, basically stating that they're going to keep the Mundies, or mundane folks like us, from finding out about their magical nature. And to do that, every fable gets amnesty for any past misdeeds done. There are a ton of fairy tale characters in this story, but for the first volume, Legends in Exile, the key players that you need to know are Snow White, who is the deputy mayor. Basically, she does all the hard work that isn't shaking hands and kissing babies. Bigby Wolf, of Big Bad Wolf renowned, has become their sheriff. Good old amnesty. Rose Red is Snow White's sister, who is a party girl in the Mundy world and in the Fable world, and basically lives to just piss Snow White off. Jack, of the Beanstalk fame, is a roguish con artist, but we love him. And Prince Charming is a lecherous snot, which actually I think is pretty accurate. The first volume picks up when Rose Red's apartment is found in total disarray. There is blood everywhere. It is apparent that she has been murdered, and it's up to Snow and Bigby to figure out exactly what happened and where she is. The great thing about this series is everything. Bill Willingham is obviously into folklore and fables and fairy tales, and I mean like the real organic roots. There's a lot of stuff in here that if you've read the original versions of fairy tales versus the Disney, version, that you'll really appreciate, you'll have an eye for. There are tons of fairy tale characters just littered throughout, so the more you know about your past fairy tales, the more you'll enjoy the book. It's almost like having 30 Easter eggs in one scene of a movie. It's kind of cool. The other great thing about Fables is that it is an entire universe unto itself. It doesn't have a lot of crossovers. There was an unwritten crossover, which was pretty cool, but it doesn't have a lot of crossovers. There's not a whole lot of reading outside of this is Fables, these are the characters, this is the world that they exist in. It doesn't get really confusing. Actually, it does get really confusing. While things can get a little confusing because the Fables universe is so huge, at the very beginning of every trade paperback, they have sort of a map of the Fables that you need to know for the upcoming story, what's happened to them in the past, and then a little synopsis at the bottom that says, this happened in the last book, and you should know about it because it's going to be very important later in this book. All of the characters are incredibly well done. Everybody has their own personal voice, and all of the context of their pasts and their fairy tale backgrounds are taken into consideration when these characters are written. In the first issue, there's actually an awesome moment where Snow White is consulting with Beauty and the Beast about their current fable problem, and Beauty dares to bring up the 7 dwarves, which if you read the Grimm fairy tale versions, you might understand why that's a bit of a sore spot for Snow White. Fables is currently up to 19 volumes. Bill Willingham has announced that in about 1.5 to 2 years, the series will end, so it's not going to be a longer continuing series. There's also spin-offs of Cinderella and Fairest, so if you get through all of Fables and you're just itching for more, there's a little bit more. And there's a video game that just came out that kind of revolves around Bigby, who is amazing. And for more details on that, you should stay tuned to Weird Girls because sometime this weekend, Mark's putting out a review of the game. Oh my God, I'll bet it's awesome. So knowing that I'm a Fables fan, people ask me all the time, how do you feel about Once Upon a Time? How do you feel about this movie that came out? Or The Legends of Oz or whatever? Yeah, they're great. But I would sacrifice the soul of every living human being on the set of that cast, down to the guy who mops the floors, to get a Fables TV show or movie. Sorry, guys. Were you really using your soul? I mean, on a day-to-day basis. Come on. Take one for the team. Have you read Fables yet? What did you think? Who is your favorite Fables character? Oh my God, that's the hardest question ever. Okay, narrow it down to 5. Tell me down below in the comments, or of course, pop on over to weird-girls.com, where we talk about comic books and other comic book silliness. Thanks as always to Austin Books and Comics. This was one of the very first books that was recommended to me when I first started, when I was just a newbie. I have a lot of fun, nostalgic memories with Fables in this shop. Boy Blue forever.